MMA Fancast. My name's Luke Basic, and I'm honored to have first-time guests of the show on one of the most unique fight nicknames out there, the IRS man, Solo Hatley Jr. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So nice to have you on the show. You have a huge fight coming up October 21st for Brawl in the Burgh 18247 Fighting Championships. You are fighting for the 145-pound pro title versus the defending champ, Ethan the Wolverine Goss. What made you say yes to this? How did this fight come together? This is a big fight at a big event at the Meadows Hollywood Casino in Canonsburg, Pennsylvania.
Well, 24/7 kind of just messaged me. I think I've had conversations with them before. Because I was originally supposed to fight actually a couple of times this year, but I kept having to pull out of fights because of either I was injured or the other opponent was injured. And so I've kind of been in a training camp really for like 4 or 5 months, but yeah, about 4 or 5 months. And yeah, it kind of mentioned me at the right time. I had just came off of an injury, and I didn't get doctor approved for my last fight about a month or so ago, and then I was cleared to fight, and that's when they had messaged me, um, asked me about the opportunity. So yeah, I had jumped on, and that's kind of how that happened.
Makes perfect sense. I appreciate you breaking down how that all came together. You have a ton of fights. You're only 27 years old, but you've had a ton of pro fights. This will be your 18th pro MMA fight, and it looks like you've had maybe another 8 or more boxing. Let's talk a little bit about the boxing fights. I see on Tapology, they don't always get everything, but it looks like you have quite the pro boxing resume. What has that done for your MMA game? Is that something that you then bring the hands over from boxing into MMA?
Yeah, boxing, I believe I'm like 5-2 in boxing, I think, or 5-3, one of those. Um, yeah, I originally had started boxing. It so okay, so kind of funny story. So I've been training in MMA since I was 14. Originally, I just wanted to be a boxer. Um, but maybe be a fighter in general, because Floyd Mayweather was actually my favorite fighter to watch, and I always wanted to be like him when I grew up. I actually fought in front of him twice in a boxing match, and the second time he was actually like from the because he was front row, of course. He was actually cornering me as I was fighting, which was pretty cool. Um, so like I had started boxing originally a couple of years ago. I had got signed with Bellator. I won my first Bellator fight. I lost my second one. My shoulder popped out, and so for 6, 8 months, it was really hard for me to get fights. Bellator wasn't trying to find me a fights, and it was hard for me to get fights on a local scene. So like I was training but not fighting. And even though people say you're supposed to always be ready, always be in the gym, that gets hard whenever you don't have a fight, you know. And so then I just kind of started boxing, and like everybody I was fighting was undefeated and stuff. And I watch a lot of boxing videos, just the same as MMA. And I was really good with boxing. Like I just know the difference between having an actual boxing match and having a fight. And so I was kind of doing both for a while, both MMA and boxing. But boxing, it's kind of no secret, boxing pays better. It just does. My boxing matches, I was making more than I was making my Bellator fights. Um, so yeah, so that's why I was doing it. But recently, I kind of stayed away from boxing and kind of just focusing back on MMA, just because I'm always honest with myself. And majority of boxers, they started when they were like 4, 5, 6. And as far as straight boxing, I'm never going to be a top Javante Davis type level boxer, just because I haven't been doing it. 'Cause boxing and MMA is just so different. And then boxing promoters, they're a lot worse than MMA promoters. They're very very slimy. I'll just be honest and say that. So right now I'm focusing back on just MMA.
Yeah, that makes sense. It is frustrating to hear about the reputation of boxing promoters. But one thing I saw on Tapology, and we'll get back to the title fight first, Ethan Wolverine Goss here in a second, but you actually have another fight lined up in December. So that's pretty exciting. You're taking on an undefeated pro for RDC 9. in December. What makes you, like you said, you want to do a lot more MMA? So what made you sign on for both October 21st and December? Is that something you like to do? Have two fights set up at a time?
Yeah, I like one. Yeah, I do like fighting pretty often. So, the one for December, I took that because one my old coach, he's a promoter. He made his own show after he retired from fighting. The guy I'm fighting is a guy I used to train with before. Tyler Stewart. He's pretty good. He's on a good little run. So a lot of people don't know. Now I'm fighting at both weight classes, 45 and 55. 'Cause I've gotten a lot more muscular and stuff. So like, yeah, I'm fighting for the 45 title, but then I'll be putting back on muscle and weight because my fight in December is at 55, and I don't fight in Arkansas because yeah, that's in my hometown. I don't fight in Arkansas much anymore because they can't really afford me. But every now and again, I'll come back and fight in Arkansas. So everybody that's talking about they want to come watch me can come watch. So yeah, that's kind of how that happened. And it's still enough time. Like, let's just say hypothetically, if I was to get hurt, in the title fight, I still have over a month and a half before
Sure.
the December fight.
Oh, absolutely. So back to the title fight for 247 Fighting Championships. Big main event. Not only is it the main event for a title against the best champ 247 has had, the two previous champs at 55 and 45. One went on to the UFC in Kama Destar Worthy, and the other one, John DeJesus, went on to Bellator. Um, anyhow, you're taking on Ethan the Wolverine Goss. That's a huge event, but it's also a back to back. You might not know this being from Arkansas. I don't know how much the 247 guys have told you, but you're going to headline not only Brawl in the Burgh 18, but the night before there's a big card which is all grappling. So what does it feel like? What does it feel like pressure wise, or I should say maybe not pressure, spotlight wise, to be the main event of what ends up being the last fight on a 2-day back to back event?
Um, it's not really no pressure. I mean, honestly, like if I'm being honest, majority of my career, especially now at this stage, I'm usually always the main event whenever I fight.
Sure.
Um, I've fought for a professional title. This will be my third professional title I don't fought for now. Um, and like I said, I've done fought for Bellator, LFAs. I don't fight on TV, and you can't really get any bigger than that. As much pressure as that. So, it's not really a lot of pressure. Kind of stuff I'm kind of already used to.
Well, that makes sense with the experience you have. So now let's get to how much do you know about Ethan the Wolverine Goss as far as a lot of his fights are up on the 247 live app. They have an app with a subscription that gets every fight 247's ever put on. Have you done a lot of research, or are you the type of guy that goes in there and just kind of makes the fight work while you're in there?
So, but Ethan, so no, I don't have the little subscription thing. I mean, the only thing I really know about him, from what I've seen, he's a high level grappler. Um, he likes to strike. I don't think his striking is as good as mine. But he likes to strike. And he from what I've seen, he's a pretty good grappler as well. He's tall and lanky. He kind of reminds me of like a Max Holloway. He's tall and lanky. Um, that's pretty much all I know about him, to be honest.
Well, that's enough to have a breakdown and a game plan. I'm sure that the comparison to Max Holloway as far as physique goes and frame, I think that's a really good comparison. I'll probably use that on the broadcast because that's a pretty good description. What UFC fighter or known fighter would you compare yourself to as far as your what I think is safely to be said like a power size guy, power puncher? I think of now he won at 170, but I think of the Matt the Terracera, kind of the fire plug. Who would you model yourself? Are you more like a Volk? I guess you're like the 145-pound because he's champ Volkanovski, right? Alexander the
Mhm.
Great. He's a thicker, more power puncher
Mhm.
guy.
Um, I would. if I was comparing myself I mean, body type wise now that yeah, probably both stylistic wise, I would say a mixture of Volk, Peter Yan, um, Cody Garbrandt, Jose Aldo, just because those guys are more boxing
Sure,
heavy, and that's
sure.
probably more so a Jose Aldo because my game
Yeah.
is the strike, avoid the takedown, like get taken down, get back up, or like a Volk, like if I like do get somebody taken down, I'm not a submission fighter, I'm a ground and pound fighter if it goes to that. So yeah, my game is very very heavy boxing based. So I would say like a mixture of those guys.
Well, that paints the picture well for me, particularly a reference to one of the best ever UFC fighters in Jose Aldo, and that makes sense. That's what styles really do make fights. You guys are both championship level. You're both pushing 20 pro fights plus. You had a long, extensive amateur career. He's had a long, extensive amateur career before that. So for you, if this fight and the next fight you have in December, how many fights away do you think you are from going back to Bellator or to the UFC? I know Ethan the Wolverine Goss believes he's on a 4-fight win streak, I think, and he's really hoping to get picked up by the UFC if he gets a win over you. And I'm sure if you get a win over him in your next one, you're going to hope for big things as well.
So and again, I'm always honest. One I heard Bellator got sold or something, or they're
Oh, that's
bankrupt or
right. I
something.
did hear that. Yeah,
Yeah,
who knows? Who knows if Bellator even exists anymore? Good point.
yeah. So I don't really know, but I don't really know about them. Which was Bellator? Honestly, I don't even want to fight for Bellator because a lot of people may not know this. Bellator is real, and just be honest, Bellator is real shaky and shady. Like if you're not one of the top people,
Yeah,
like so, my first fight was against Gaston Milano. He's in the UFC now. Unbelievable heavy Muay Thai champion multiple time. That was my first fight. I won. My second fight, was against Aaron Pico. It was actually a short notice fight. Um, it was actually a short notice fight, and so I lost that fight. And I was supposed to have a third fight for them, and they would never give me a fight unless it was short notice against Khabib's cousin. You know, and so, but as far as the UFC, um, I've had kind of like an up and down career for like the past 2 years. So honestly, I I honestly would need to be on like a 5, 6 fight win streak
sure.
before even thinking about the UFC. Uh, you know, again, I'm always honest with myself. I gave myself a deadline after I turned 27. Because I turned pro when I was 21, and I always said that if I didn't make it to the big stage by the time I was 25, I was gonna do something else, which I made it to Bellator. And now, if I don't make it to the UFC by the time I'm 30, then I'm gonna do something else because
Okay.
I already have too many fights as is for one. I already have almost 20 fights, so that's already too much in my opinion. And I just don't want to be 32, 33, 34 with 40 fights trying to go to the UFC. Like I'm, you know, I'm just like again, I just try to be honest with myself. So if I don't get to the UFC by the time I'm 30, then I'm just gonna do something else, you know. But yeah, I mean, I say about maybe 5, 6 fights before I can even think about, going to the UFC.
Sure. Well, I definitely appreciate the honesty. I think that's very good that you're reflective of yourself and you kind of know what you need to do. And yeah, that's very realistic. You've had a lot of great fights, been up and down, as you said. And Ethan, your opponent, is on that 4-fight win streak, and he had a beginning part of his pro career where he was up and down as well. So you guys have had very
Yeah,
similar careers as well.
yeah, I saw that. Like his beginning of his career is kind of like where the last 2 years of mine have been because he had kind of a lucky start and he's really picking up. Me, I had an amazing start and I'm kind of been at a rocky hill, And it's kind of funny because three dudes I fought now are in the UFC and two of them I beat.
Well, hey, that's a good thing because down the road, if you get on that 5 or 6 fight win streak, the UFC takes that into account when they're looking at people you've beaten. And if they know some of the guys you've beaten because they're in the UFC, that can only help you. Obviously, we're talking about October 21st, Brawl in the Burgh. 18 for 247 Fighting Championships. What do you think? How do you think that fight's going to go as far as styles go and as far as fireworks or excitingness as the main event?
Um, I think either I'm gonna knock him out or he's gonna submit me.
You're an honest guy. You're an honest guy.
Yeah,
I like it. I like it.
yeah,
Okay.
that's how I see the fight going. I think. I mean, if for someone Sanchez goes to the decision, he's probably gonna win just because politics of the fight game and hometown and him being the champion and all that. So like if he submits me or if he goes to the decision, he's gonna win.
Sure. Well, I think that's a very, it makes me want to watch, right? Because we get these matchups from time to time where you kind of know, you never fully know, but you kind of know that you think you're going to win by, if you're going to win, it's going to be by TKO or knockout. And if he's going to win, it's probably going to be submission or decision. To me, that means both fighters have a path to victory. Sometimes I do that right up where they ask me, Luke, make up a Luke's key to victory. And sometimes fighters have very similar key to victories. And sometimes, in a case like with you versus Ethan, you have different paths to victory. And I think sometimes the different paths are exciting. Like, because we remember Jose Aldo, at his best, he needed to keep it on the feet more or less and do a heavy boxing. And all his opponents were trying to change the game plan. We've seen that. So I actually think it makes it more exciting to watch a fight where the fighters have sort of different paths to victory. You've been very honest. It's been absolutely incredible having you on the show. Do you have any sponsors or thank yous you want to shout out as you come in, as we come into the end of this here?
No sponsors. I mean, I can only give thanks to my team, my coach Nathan Kirby, and all my teammates. Because like I always say, it doesn't matter how good you are without a team, you're really not nothing. You know. So yeah, my teammates. And everybody that truly supports me, not the people that are only here when I win. Because
Yeah.
again, in the fight game, whenever you're winning, you're everything, everybody, and then when you lose, you ain't shit. I don't know if I was allowed to cuss. I'm sorry if I wasn't. But but yeah, you're nothing if you're not winning. That's just how it goes for people. So the people who are actually there whenever I'm winning or losing, like I thank those people.
Yeah, well, you put out something very important, and that is in any sport, particularly pro fighting or any high level sport, it is tough. And I encourage everybody that has a friend or somebody they know, family member who's competing in a professional sport, particularly fighting or anything even remotely high level, to make sure that they're supportive and encouraging, particularly in the down days. I think sometimes, like you said, sometimes they're just friends when things are good, but sometimes I think people don't know what to say when it's a sad day. Whether I'm a mental health counselor, so a lot of people don't know what to say when somebody's grieving, and a lot of people don't know what to say when somebody's lost or where it doesn't look like things are going well. So I think you just brought up a good point, not only in the fight world but in life in general. If you've got a friendship or relationship with somebody and they're going through something rough, whether it's personal, professional, whatever it is, saying something and being there for them goes a long way, because everybody knows when your life's rough, you know when people aren't reaching out to you. So a little public service announcement out there for people to really, because it really does make a difference. It doesn't take me being a mental health counselor, just being a person, to know that when somebody's going through good times, they have plenty of people excited to encourage and support them and be there. But when somebody's going through rough times, that's really where the real friends show up. And sometimes it's just people don't know what to say. And I always say, saying anything and being there is better than saying nothing and not being there. So really, really great. A powerful ending. Can't wait to see you in person for the big main event of really what's going to be a 2-day back-to-back events for Sprawl in the Burgh and Brawl in the Burgh. Can't wait to see you. It's a big deal. You're coming in from Arkansas. I like to call it Arkansas just to sound stupid. But you're coming in from Arkansas to face the guy that's going to have a lot of fan support there. So I can't wait to see how it all goes down. Thanks so much, the IRS man, Solo Hatley Jr. Thanks so much for coming on. For people that like or are fans of Solo Hatley, please like and subscribe. I hope to have you on again in the future. Thanks so much.
Thank you for having me.
You got it. Take care.